morning, good evening, and welcome to the latest episode of The Rights in the Gary Kelly's podcast, wherever you are in the world. We're recording straight after the full-time whistle at Old Trafford, so forgive us if we're not sounding as enthusiastic as we normally do. We'll keep it short and sweet, well, as sweet as possible this week. Looking back on the game, we'll dissect what went wrong, positives if there were some. We'll have a look at some reactions from fans on social media. We'll take a look at the updated Leeds news in 40 seconds, and we'll wrap up with another edition of the Guess Who game. On today's panel, we've got Lucy, Matt B and Matt M. Dare I ask, how are you doing, guys?
Try to be positive.
I think that reaction says it all. We'll get stuck in. So obviously a 6-2 loss away at Old Trafford before we go into Christmas. Not the result that we were hoping for, not the result that many believed we could achieve, potentially the result that a lot of non-Leeds fans expected. What's your general take on the performance and the result?
Yeah, I just feel very deflated. I've been on a high all week since we beat Newcastle on Wednesday evening, and especially going into work where I'm surrounded by Sheffield United and Sheff Wednesday fans. Too many mistakes. I don't know, I'm still trying to process it, especially with the first two goals that just happened in such quick succession. I was just like, oh, right, okay. Yeah, just too many mistakes, sloppy play. I want to try and put a bit of a positive spin on it with it being Christmas and all, but we scored from a corner. Captain Coops got his first Premier League goal. Unfortunately, he did have to go off in the second half, and I think Stuart Dallas's goal was probably the best of the game. But yeah, like I said, very deflated. Not what I wanted before Christmas.
I think it was more the manner in which we conceded, say, the first 3 or 4 goals, wasn't it? Really, that sort of. Especially the first two, just in what was it, three minutes? I think that we were 2-0 down, and it just completely takes the wind out of your sail, no matter. And we all knew that we'd end up coming back and having a go at them, but it was just the way that we sort of never got going and never gave ourselves a chance, really. And just the fact that we conceded in such sloppy ways, and then obviously the fourth was from a set piece. It was like it doesn't feel like we're learning anything really from some of the more recent games against the likes of Newcastle and stuff. It's just, and like you say, it's just like Lucy says, it's just deflating really, especially when you know it's just against that lot, isn't it? You just wish that we did put up a fight, but you just wish we'd have made a bit more of a close game of it in the scoreline really. But yeah, you can't really gloss over what happened, really.
I think when you're talking about being a close game, I think if you look at the match facts at the end of the game, or the match stats, sorry, you if you didn't look at the scoreline, you'd think that was potentially a Leeds win. Absolutely crazy. But I think when I was watching it, it felt always in line with a boxing match. You know, that first round getting caught on the temple and you're stunned. And that's what them 2 goals did to us. And I felt we just never recovered from there since. But yeah, it wasn't easy, was it? Let's be honest, to watch. It was a tough one. And like you guys have said, it's just really, really disappointing. But it's, you look at the game on Wednesday and it's such a contrast. We were outstanding on Wednesday. And as soon as that full-time whistle went after that 5-2 win against Newcastle, all the build-up was about Manchester United. We've purely focused on that. And in a way, do you really think that pressure's potentially got on some of the players? Like they were talking before the game that Calvin's gone in and reminded the players of the importance of this game. Calvin got hooked at half-time, no sign of injury. Looked like he appeared as well, 55 minutes for it into the game. He comes strolling in, looks a bit peed off. Maybe the occasion got to him. But then also, in a way, you've got to kind of praise the opposition. I know it's really hard for us to do. It's even hard for me to say that. But they did a job on us. They soaked up the pressure, took the ball off us, or picked up any loose balls, and hit us on the counter. And we just shit ourselves. We absolutely shit ourselves. And they benefited from it, absolutely. And it was just kind of repetitive after a while. You knew every time we were breaking, that gung-ho attack, and United were just pouncing on us every time. And yeah, it could have been a lot more. And it probably should have been a lot more at times.
Yeah, so as you touched on, we were obviously 2-0 down inside 3 minutes. Scott McTominay is the first player to score a double as quickly as that in Premier League history, which is not the kind of record we want in matches that we're in. Was it a case of not settling quick enough? Did we underestimate how they were going to play? Because obviously the setup looked like they were set for the counter, so we kind of knew what to expect from them. Or was it just straight up bad defending?
Well, it's a bit cliche, isn't it? But it's probably a bit of rabbit in headlights sort of thing. I know Matt touched on it, how everyone was, like Philip saying, that is reminding the group how big of a game it is. And as much as it is a big game, the mentality that they probably need to have is that it is just sort of another game for them. But I think the manner in which the goals came so quick, I just don't know in the first 3 minutes. I just don't know if you can actually put a finger on of it being an actual whether obviously Ollie got his tactics right or Bielsa got them wrong. I think it just came that quick that I think it's just sort of individual mistakes that basically cost us within like less than like 200 seconds into a game, and it's ultimately you just can't recover from it really, because as soon as that they sniffed blood, didn't they, and just kept on coming for us. And to be fair to him, I think they did manage as well, but like Matt also touched on another day, if we'd have taken our chances, you just never know. But I think it's just one of those games where nothing just seemed to go right at the crucial stages, really.
One thing we need to look at is just dust ourselves off, move on, forget about it. Could have been worse. It wasn't. You look at Southampton last season, they lost 9-0. Was it 9-0 to Leicester? It was, wasn't it? They lost 9-0 to Leicester. Look at them this season. They're flying high. Palace lost 7-0 at the weekend to Liverpool. You know, they'll dust themselves off. They'll go again. Liverpool lost 7-1 to Aston Villa this season. Look at that now. So, yeah, these results are going to happen. And we've said it on this pod. We're due a spanking. We've been due a spanking all season. It's a shame it's against them. You know, but it's going to happen to us at some point. And in a way, we've been due it for a long time. And maybe this one will hurt more than any other, and hopefully we can go into Burnley now on the 27th and focus on Burnley and the likes of West Brom, because Manchester United are our fight. We know that. It's a sentimental thing we've had all this week building up to it. You know, we've been publishing articles with our writers. Everyone's been getting excited. Everyone waking up this morning is like the biggest game we've had in the league. In 16 years, we've waited 10 years for this. You know, we all got giddy. We all genuinely thought we could get a result here today. But that's gone now. We've been beaten, and we'll get the odd result against one of the top six. We will. But we want to be looking down at the likes of Burnley and Sheffield United and West Broms and your Fulhams, you know, the Newcastles. They're our level. We're back in this league for the first time in 16 years. We're not Champions League qualification. We're not Europa League. We're not challenging for the Premier League. We're challenging to survive. That's what we're aiming for. Dust ourselves off, forget about it, and when they come back to Ellen Road, put a tackle in and just remind them that this is Leeds United and we want to fight, because we didn't show any of it today.
I think Matt's providing the balanced aspect on the conversation today.
Can get me in that changing room. I would have told them.
Yeah, all those lot are just fucking fuming, aren't we?
Yeah, I am trying my best to be composed. On a positive, despite the scoreline, we did have plenty of chances of our own. A couple for Bamford in the first half, a worldie of a save from De Gea to keep Rafinha out in the second, a really clear opportunity for Harrison towards the end of the game. We do play this high-risk football, and that's obviously not going to change. So we need to be making sure that we take those chances to make that worthwhile, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Like the last few games that we've played, we've had plenty of chances to get the ball in the back of the net. It's really tough one to talk about, I think. Like the commentator said on Sky, the scoreline definitely didn't reflect the scoreline. Our mistakes were the cause their goals. But yeah, we do play this high risk football, but it's so entertaining to watch. Like you watched the Man City derby last week. It was bloody boring, but everyone just loves to watch our games because we do play. It's going to come back and bite us, and it has done today. But it's so much more entertaining to watch.
I think we said it before, Lucy, as well, that I think the likes of Manchester United and City, I remember Sterling after the game saying it was refreshing to play Leeds. I think a couple of other players have said it post-match as well. And I think Manchester United are another example of it. It's a good test to go up against a team like Leeds. And in a way, it's a compliment. But then when you get kind of found out the way we have today, it kind of makes them look good when we all know Manchester United are fragile. And like you said, that Manchester derby, we're crying out for a chance last week. You know, we've had 43 attempts on goal from both teams today with 24 corners. It's absolutely madness.
Yeah, I think for the neutral, obviously it's a delight to watch us play football. Of those 43 shots today, only 17 of them were on target, and I think that's the issue. You know, they could have gone on and probably had another 3 or 4, but likewise, nobody would have probably batted an eyelid if the game had ended 5-5. And I think you're right in the point that it's different because it's against them. You know, if we'd been turned over 6-2 by City or Liverpool, then, you know, the reaction probably wouldn't have been as strong as it has been this evening. But yeah, I think there is an element of just taking it in our stride, learn from what's gone on today, and hopefully improve against those teams that we are going to be directly in competition with towards the end of the season. Just moving on, so we did concede those 6 goals, but I think Meslier is probably one of the few players who can hold his head high this evening. If not for him, it could potentially have been double figures. However, some of the comments on social media tonight suggest that Kiko should be getting a run out. Please tell me I'm not the only one that thinks that's ridiculous.
Got 2 words for that one.
That's outrageous.
I mean, what's he really meant to do tonight? I mean, Meslier stopped it from being about probably 15-2 towards the end. They were just peckering him, weren't they?
The bad thing is this isn't just from one person either. I've seen quite a lot of comments. You know, like you said, there's not too much he could have done for a lot of those goals, and he is still learning, but Christ, I definitely have him in goal over Kiko.
Oh, definitely. Like, I watched Kiko in a couple of the under-23 games that he's been playing. He's just been shocking. Like, no, I don't understand them comments. Just, yeah, he's such a young goalkeeper. He's learning the same as everyone else. I don't. Whoever's saying them comments, I have no words.
The crazy brigade are definitely out on social media tonight. We chatted about this last week and we kind of agreed that a left back is probably where the focus should be in the January transfer window. Are we feeling the same about that? I think Alioski had a difficult game today. You know, it would have been difficult whoever was in that position, but I think he was out of position quite a lot. Is that left back still the priority, do you think?
Yep. And, you know, the second half, I don't think we had a natural central midfielder on the pitch, did we? At any point. So is that an area we need to strengthen? I think we do actually, don't we?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think, I think it's pretty obvious, but I think as a defence as a whole, we need some form of investment somewhere. As we know, we've got Koch and Llorente coming back, but regardless of whether they are fit, we still seem to be playing some form of makeshift back 4, back 5, whichever you want to class it as. We just never seem to have the players set in the right positions, and as good as Dallas and Alioski have been, it's just that it's not their natural positions really, and you just think that, I know we've had to have a few shakeabouts, but you just think that surely a club in the Premier League would have suitable options really. But to be fair to him, like I say, Dallas has been brilliant this year as a whole. But I think sort of Alioski's had a couple of good games earlier on in his stint, but then he's just sort of faded away in the last couple of games, I think. And it's just sort of I think it's just starting to tell that he's playing sort of out of position.
I'd say Dallas has probably been one of our best players, player of the year for us so far this season. You know, if you look at his performances each game, and obviously starting the season at left back, he's been right back, central midfield today and against Newcastle. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. He really has. But you're right. I think we do need to look at that left back issue. But again, like we said, central midfield is vitally important. And I don't know about you guys, but when Bamford went down the penalty area, I was worried because, you know, Roberts were there warming up on the sideline. Is he your answer? He's not. We talked about it last week. I think that's an area we need to strengthen as well.
Well, we've got some comments from fans on social media that I'll just chat you through. There's some pretty strong points in here. So James Hughes says mistakes at the top level cost you. We made too many. On to the next. It's pointless crying about it. Andy says we never recovered from the start. Another counter-attacking setup, I think that probably must say, that we couldn't deal with. Another lesson handed out to us, but ultimately not what this season is about. Landog says, my thoughts are that the back four is not good enough and the midfield is too weak. Decision making in the final third isn't good enough either, and we need a new captain on the pitch to lead the team. And Dan says, Ayling isn't cut out for centre-back. Losing Coops is huge. Harrison needs a couple of weeks out for Poveda. Rodrigo needs to go as our number 9. Rafinha was our best player. Something needs to change before Tottenham because the pace of Son and Moura and the height of Kane, we will get torn apart. Do you guys agree with those comments? There's a fairly strong opinion in there about the captaincy.
I think Dan just really wants to rip the football club apart, does he? Bloody hell, lad. Calm down. There's one issue to raise, but literally you went through 1 to 11 there.
I think he's just taken the whole team apart, hasn't he, like you say?
He's gone for it, hasn't he? Yeah. No mention of Pablo, though. That normally is one, isn't it? Or no, there's no mention of Kiko from Dan. No, he missed that one out. Thought he'd want Kiko to come in.
What do you reckon to Landog's comment on needing a new captain on the pitch to lead the team? Obviously, we're going to get that with Cooper out, but in terms of long term.
Coops. It's a tough one, isn't it? There's a lot of talk of Cooper out of his level, the Premier League. Personally, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think he'll be a 5-year Premier League player. I don't think he will be. But I think it's difficult for him as well because we haven't had a settled back four. That's what you need, really, don't you? You need to organise your defence and you're going to get that kind of clicking between each other. And I think, as we started with Robin Koch, he's had Llorente, he's had Ayling in there as well. And now obviously he's picked an injury up against Manchester United today. So that back four is so unsettled. In terms of captaincy, obviously Luke Ayling can step in as a captain, and we've also got Phillips as well for that role. So they're more than capable to do that. But it depends. I don't know if you guys have heard anything. Obviously, we've gone live straight after the game in terms of Cooper. What is it, just a slight knock, or is it something potentially serious? It's only time will tell with that one.
Yeah, I did see that Bielsa had said they didn't know the extent of Coop's injury just yet, but did say that Llorente would be back in training next week, so whether he will be available for that Burnley game, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a tough one with Coops. I do like him as a captain, and I think he has played really well the past few games. I think today he did play well despite obviously letting in the amount of goals that we did, but yeah, he did show quite a bit of promise until he went off. But yeah, like Matt said, you've got Ayling. I do like it when, well, obviously I don't like it when Coops is out injured, but when Ayling does come in and is that captain role, he does open his gob and bloody shouts at them players and gets them going. So yeah, him and Calvin are more than capable of stepping in that role.
I think it's been quite hard for Cooper really when you actually look at his Leeds career as a whole. He's gone through some absolute shit, really, hasn't he? Because he came in when Chilino was here. He's probably gone through God knows how many managers. He's been in the team, out the team, probably around the time when Monk came in. And then since then, he's probably had about going into double figures in how many different combinations he's had playing left back, and by his side he's just never really had a settle. As Matt said, he's never really had a chance to settle on an actual back four. Even this season he's had 4 or 5 partnerships to either his left or right. It's just not been, it can't be ideal for someone when they're constantly having to change who they're playing alongside. And you see when, like last season, when we got the unit set and he had got someone alongside him like Ben White, it was good. And you just got to have a little bit of sympathy for him, I think, sometimes when he's having to constantly change who he's playing next to.
It definitely doesn't help. I don't think. Well, I think with any team, you always. I've said it before, but you need a settled back four. We're shipping in so many goals, and I don't think we touched upon it yet, but set pieces again today. Oh dear me. Yeah, as soon as the ball went out for a corner, you just know, don't you? Like, I don't know about you guys, but my head drops. I know it's coming. If my head's dropping, your head's dropping, Tommy down road's head's dropping, what are players' heads doing? You know, they know it's a mentality thing as well. In a way, I feel like we need to get that bloody priest to come in, actually. You know, got that time to bless Ellen Road. And then when we get a corner, just get him just to stand
Bless the corner flash.
behind goal. You know, like Newcastle when Harrison scored that worldie and that I'm saying steward in quotations stood in cop on it and he celebrated with his arms up in air. Maybe we need the Father Ted or whatever we call just to kind of stand behind goals, just to make sure and bless us that we don't on see.
While you're browsing Twitter during the break, why don't you head over to the terrace and check out their Leeds United range for all your retro, classic and modern day gear.
I'll tell you what, Vic, I've got to say, I love a good brew in my Tony Bowl mug, bought on the terracestore.com.
So where do we go from this then? We've got Burnley next and then West Brom. Both are surely going to be licking their lips at taking on our defence, especially at set pieces.
Big Sam's going to have a field day, innit, when we've got West Brom and Burnley. They're both strong at set pieces, aren't they? It's they'll be standing on Meslier's toes. So it's worrying as well. And obviously we'll get Father Amish or whatever he's called to come to them games because we need him.
We've got Spurs in between as well, I think, haven't we? I think we've got Burnley, and then is it Spurs or I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
we've got Spurs,
Burnley, West Brom, Spurs, and then Crawley in FA Cup.
But effectively, Spurs are like now under Mourinho. They're like Burnley on steroids, aren't they?
Yeah, with a world-class striker and a Real Madrid loanee.
As much as we have got a top six team in and amongst those, as we like to quote, winnable games, we're effectively playing like three teams who do like to score from set pieces or have a bit of muscle power about them and a bit of pace out wide, obviously. So yeah, I think it as much as they are like we say, these are the games you've got to target to win. I think as we all know, they're the ones we always seem to struggle against, and you just know we're going to be in for a right game on when we play Burnley. It's just you just basically try and just kick it out for a throw instead of a corner. That's just what we've got to aim for, really.
Yeah, I think you look at the Burnley and the West Brom game and you think, God, we could do with a whole 6 points from them games, but like we've learned so far, no game is an easy game in the Premier League, and we don't know. I just really hope that the game today is just not knocked any confidence, especially after us beating Newcastle during midweek, where we played so well. All the players look so happy, everyone's happy, and I just hope it's not going to put a downer on them, and I hope Coops' injury is not as bad as it is. But yeah, we've got to look at them games and hope that we can take away as many points as possible before then obviously going up against Spurs in the new year.
I think when you look at Burnley and West Brom, on paper you see 6 points there. Like, realistically, what would you take out of them two games?
You'd want 4 at the minimum, surely, but we just know that it's almost like it's like today. We, as much as we've got battered today, you probably thought we had more of a chance of winning than we did on like Wednesday night against Newcastle, just because of the manner that we always seem to mess up against these teams who like to stay compact and just break on the counter attack.
Yeah, I think I'd be looking at least 4 points from those two. But I think this result today as well, we have to hope that it doesn't have an impact on the mentality of the players, because like we saw against Newcastle, that positivity from such an impressive win really did hype up the kind of expectation and the hope from today, not just for the fans, but I would imagine for the players as well. So although today was somewhat of a free hit, you want to make sure that loss doesn't result in them having their heads down for the next couple of games, which are the ones we will be looking back at the end of the season to see where the points went. So they're really, really crucial games. But if we play like we can, if we execute it like we can, then there's no reason we don't take at least 4 points from those. We've obviously got Bielsa coming up against two of the most experienced English managers. I'm sure the media are going to have a field day over the next couple of weeks. We're obviously not expecting Bielsa to make any tactical changes, but how do you think they're going to approach the game against us?
Oh, I think we spoke about it. I think, obviously set pieces are going to be the main aim for Dyche and Allardyce against Leeds. I talked about it earlier about standing on Meslier's toes on set pieces. Both games do worry me because obviously we went into West Ham believing we'd get a result out of that, and they did us on 2 set pieces. So it is the blueprint. It's something we definitely need to work on. It's just so frustrating, and hopefully we can get a result because obviously we'll know more tomorrow. But the extent of the injuries, we're going to have such a patched up team going into the game. And I don't know about you guys, but I felt early on in the second half we just looked off the pace. We looked exhausted, didn't we? Did you not notice? And I think, yeah, it's a case of coming up against the likes of Dyche and Allardyce at the wrong time of the season, if you ask me. But it is Christmas. Other clubs are in similar positions. There's no excuses. I don't know why I'm making any. We go again, and hopefully we get a result like we did against Villa, because that took us all by surprise and we were absolutely amazing that night. So we live in hope.
Well, speaking of Click and Phillips, to be fair as well, they were both taken off at half time today. They're both on yellow cards. So I think, you would imagine that Bielsa's probably seen it from a perspective of it wasn't quite working anyway. That game was probably gone. We don't want to risk those two getting another yellow and then having a suspension for the upcoming games. But I think there is a consensus with fans that Click in particular has been a little bit off the pace for the last few games, not just today. So they both really need a solid performance in the next couple of games, don't they? Because when they work, it has such a huge impact on the rest of the team.
Yeah, I was just about to say when Matt said that, no one seemed to realise, not even, it took Sky Sports about half an hour to do some research that they were both on 4 yellow cards, despite everyone on Twitter already knowing that. But I think Bielsa probably, as much as he'll believe that we might have been able to get back into the game in some shape or form, he'll have accepted that game by half time was out of our grasp, and the best option was to one, get those two out of the firing line, because they weren't having the best of games, and obviously to give them some rest, really, because as we say, we all know how that Click's instrumental to this team, and he practically plays every minute of every week, bar the odd game. But obviously we can't be affording to miss any more of Phillips, especially after he's already had 6 to 8 weeks out in a bit of a crucial stage in between about end of September, wasn't it, to probably end of October. So I just think it'd probably Bielsa trying to manage the squad up just a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with. Sorry, I was just gonna say I really agree with you actually, Matt. I never really considered that at the time. I didn't think that. I genuinely thought he held them off for poor performance, and he just wasn't happy with how they were performed in the first half. But when you look at the substitutions, you've got Stoic and Shackleton came on in their place, and at the time I didn't look at it and think, well, that's substitutions that had been put in place to win a game or to change the outcome of a game, because between both players, you're looking at 3 Premier League appearances between them. Is it half a dozen or a dozen first team starts for the club in general? They're not game changers, are you? You kind of look at your Roberts and your Pervaders as that kind of game changing sub. So you might be right. It could be a case of him protecting both players and just thinking, well, I'm not going to get a result here. Let's just try and protect what we've got, or at least win the second half, like a classic Neil Warnock phrase, that wasn't it? Let's try and win the second half, lads.
Got the win downhill. But I think it could probably work from both sides as well. Strikes sort of barely played, hasn't he, since he had that run at the start of the season, and Shackleton's just sort of come back into the frame. So, from that sort of point of view as well, he's probably giving them a few. I know it's not the perfect game to bring them in, but it's giving them a little bit of experience against a good team, and just sort of getting some minutes in the legs as well, because obviously he'll want to try and keep fitness levels at a premium and stuff. So I think it's probably a bit of squad management as a whole picture, really, and just to make sure that Strike and Shackleton don't lose a bit of rustiness as well, because as we know, it's quite easy for these players to probably lose that sharpness if they're sort of in and out of the team or not playing.
Are you disappointed he didn't chuck a grenade in there then, Vic?
A little bit. I think that's maybe why I'm a little bit more wound up about it. It just seemed that, yeah, fair enough. I think, like you said, that kind of punch to the temple, those 2 early goals did take us by surprise and knocked us back a little bit. But it just felt like there wasn't the impetus I would expect. There wasn't, not that I want red cards, but there wasn't that kind of tackle. There wasn't the physical nature of the game that you would expect from it. And I think, obviously Phillips has done his best to kind of tell the players why this was so important, but I don't even think he brought his A game today. So, whether it was those 2 early goals, whether it was just a general bit of rabbits in the headlights, lots of pressure, I don't know what it was, but I think the impetus and the kind of firepower from the team, I don't think we saw that today, which for me was a big factor in why it ended how it did, but I'm sure I'll get slated for that on social media.
To be fair, I do think it must be a strange feeling, especially at the minute. I know we keep sort of backing up this tree about fans not being in grounds, but it must be hard when, and as much as they know mentally that it's a big game to everyone, but it must be hard when you sort of step out onto a pitch knowing you're playing in this big game, and then you sort of look around and you're like, well, no one's here, sort of thing. I know it's not sort of the excuse, but I know it must be hard for them just to sort of get themselves going really at the minute, and especially when stuff like conceding set piece goals. I think it's been 3 or 4 games now, hasn't it, that we've conceded 1 in a row, might be more, but I think just like little things like that, I know it does, the pressure's on when the crowd's in, but also when the crowd isn't, you just sort of, I bet they sort of feel a bit alone really when they're out there, and they probably just sort of need that little boost, don't they? It almost feels like from maybe a crowd just giving them a bit of motivation.
I think as a football club, we are kind of renowned for it, aren't we? We thrive off it. We are that club that have got an amazing fan base, and bottom of League One -15, we're taking 7,000 to an away ground, or we're filling out Tranmere's ground for that first game of -15. And I think, a game like today, you would have your 8,000 Leeds fans up in there making 10 times the amount of noise as the Manchester United fans. But I think a couple of the pundits, I think Martin Tyler's mentioned it a few times. I think it was the West Ham game about, 35,000 Leeds fans at Ellen Road. You'd probably have a different result because it's that 12th man. And a club like Leeds, I agree, a club like Leeds, it's hindering them. Whereas your Arsenals and your Manchester Uniteds and your Cities, there's no difference for them, is there? The tourist fans, that's what they are now. Where clubs like Leeds and Sheffield United in some aspects as well, they rely on their fans. We rely on our fans, and yeah, I think it is playing a part in it. And I think hopefully in the return fixture, Ellen Road, we've got our fans there, because I tell you what, we'll be wanting revenge, and hopefully we get it, and we'll be able to listen back on this episode and think, how depressed did we sound?
So we've got Leeds in 40 seconds next, where we have to put our best newsreader voices on. You guys sound so up for that.
Yay!
Come on.
So it's that time of the show again. Leeds news in 40 seconds. So here we go.
Leeds United put in a memorable performance against Newcastle, winning 5-2 thanks to goals from Patrick Bamford, Rodrigo, Stuart Dallas, Alioski, and a cracker from Jack Harrison.
In that game, we saw the return of El Maggio, Pablo Hernandez, who went on to create 2 assists in less than 5 minutes.
Registration is now open to apply to be the Leeds United representative in the E-Premier League.
Leeds United ended the week with a 6-2 loss against bitter rivals Manchester United, with a goal from Dan James rubbing salt in the wounds.
We're not signing him in January after that celebration as well.
Ooh, we did it.
I think that was amazing. Right, on to Guess Who. Right, let's add a little bit of fun and positivity in amongst all the negativity with a little game of Guess Who. I'm going to give you up to 3 clues about a player that has some connection to Leeds United, and you just have to buzz in when you think you know which player I'm talking about. So Matt M, this is going to be your buzzer.
Patrick Bamford.
Matt B, this is you.
Super, Liam, Cooper.
Wurisham.
We'll go again.
Matt. What do you?
And Lucy, as ever, this is yours.
It's brilliant. Applauds the crowdies.
Could have done with that
Love
today.
it.
So clue number 1. This player was born on September 16th, 1993. Clue number 2. He made 130 appearances for Leeds United, scoring 9 goals. I've made it tricky this week. Maybe clue 3 will give it away. He is currently at Norwich, joining them in July 2019 for a fee of £750,000.
Matt.
It's Matt M. Who do you think it is?
Is it Samuel Byram?
It is! Well done.
That's a
The
good one.
past 2 weeks it's been super easy and the guys have got it on like the first clue, so I've made it pretty tricky this week. But well done, you got there after 3 clues. So if you managed to face listening to us despite knowing how negative it was going to be this week, then well done to you and thank you very much. We'll be back before the new year with a recap on the season so far and a look ahead to 2021. So have a great Christmas and we'll speak to you soon.